Hello, good morning, Sitaram. Welcome to all our brothers and sisters in Trinidad and Tobago and worldwide, whoever is looking at this program on the various platforms at Radio and TV Jagriti or on this other social media platforms. I want to welcome you to another program in this series, Addiction and Recovery. This program is being recorded and will be posted on YouTube and Facebook soon after the completion of the program this morning, so that anyone who is unable to stay for the entire program this morning with us, you can always come back and review the program. It will also be repeated on Radio and TV Jagriti at 10 p.m. tonight. And the link to YouTube and Facebook could also be referred or given to anyone who you think may benefit from this program. Today, I want to speak about a very sensitive issue. It came as I was doing some research about this program. You know, it has become very obvious now in Trinidad and Tobago that more and more of our sisters are becoming addicted and dependent on alcohol. We saw an acceleration of this, especially during the COVID pandemic that we just came out of. Now, women have been known historically for being closet drinkers, as we call them, in that they have been using very, very secretly. A lot of times they have been using alcohol and sometimes prescription drugs to help them to cope, especially women who find themselves in abusive relationships, stressful situations, who do not have good coping skills or a strong supportive social network. They tend to turn to these mind-altering substances to help them to cope with whatever situations they are faced. In the old days, women would probably be able to go by the neighbor, have a circle of friends they could talk to, and so on. Today, yes, I know the phone, the various free internet services are allowing some amount of that, but that interpersonal connection and support system, the physical support, is diminishing. So women are largely left to themselves, and even today, even where the families are choosing, not only women, men and women, children as well, are tending now to more become reliant on their phones. Phone addiction is becoming a big problem. So as I speak about the various addictions, we need to bear in mind our growing dependence on these gadgets, these phone and tablets and all of these things, because it is increasingly obvious, even in our families, when we would have spent some time together talking to each other in the old days and finding ways to resolve problems. Now people are going to their phone and they are, there's so many social media platforms available there that they're using recreationally at first, but becoming dependent on. I don't want to call names of these, but you all listeners are very much aware of these, where it is really taking away from family time. I see families sitting around the table at dinner, and they're all on the phone. Even while they eat, they're on the phone. And they're even sending message to each other right across the table via text, so that personal contact and warmth is not there. Because when we communicate on a phone, remember the other person is not always seeing us. So we could be expressing words of condolence while our face and our nonverbal communication is saying something else. We could be smiling while we're doing it and not communicating really what our true feelings and intentions are. So that what is obvious, what I want to speak about today is the increasing use of alcohol among women. Now, the truth is, more and more women are entering the world of work. And as a result, they have become a target population with disposable income that the rum and drug, the rum companies in particular, have been targeting. If you look at some of the advertisements, they are literally singling out the woman population, our sisters. You know, just to give you a little line from one of them, this is the way to let your hair down. You know, meaning women, and we are seeing it out there. Yeah, in my community where I live, we are, you know, in my growing up days, in the old days, it would be sacrilegious to see a woman sitting in a bar on a stool drinking. No, women never did that, especially in the countryside. Maybe in houses of ill repute, somewhere in the cities and so on, in little dark corners, you would have seen that in the old days, but not in a village rum shop. No, the bars are extending the building, the reach right up to the pavement, and you have high stools with high chairs there. And you're seeing women on a Friday evening or even during the week drinking, groups of them, you know, and I have, because of my involvement in the field of counseling and substance abuse and marital counseling, I come across these stories, these situations where, you know, I become aware of these things where women, they meet the girl just like boys go on a boys' line, girls go and go girls' line now, and they pick up two, three friends and they have their cars and they go bar hopping and get drunk and they brag about it the next day, they talk about it the next day, they share information with friends and they invite other women as well. And this is not to put down women or to scold them in any way, but to look at the reality of what is happening, you know, gradually. Because the truth is, women are not able to assimilate alcohol readily as men. Their bodies do not permit that. Men can generally drink more alcohol and manage it better than women because women are generally smaller, their metabolism is a little different, and so they tend to get drunk quicker. Yes, I mean, when you look at it in a macro position, you see men getting into more trouble with alcohol because they are in the majority. But the statistics here show that there has been an almost 12% increase in Trinidad and Tobago since the pandemic of women now drinking heavily. And that triggered in me the desire to speak about this issue this morning because I haven't worked in alcoholism and drug addiction in various settings at Cowra Hospital, at San Fernando Hospital, at St. Anne's Hospital, Cuba, and out there in private practice for the last 40 years. I'm seeing the problem ever increasing in spite of this program and other programs to try to mitigate the circumstances. People are becoming more and more, both men and women, more and more dependent on mood altering substances as we become more and more materially oriented, less and less spiritual. There's a tendency now to turn to these things, and I'm sure our pundits and priests could better explain some of the underlying spiritual factors that lead to this materialism, that lead to addiction and dependence and crime and the kind of undesirable way of living. So the point is, in a society where we are seeing more and more women drinking, we are going to be seeing more and more women needing help. And I know that the playing field for men is very different when it comes to addiction than women, because where men might be able to access treatment or even receive social acceptance much more readily for problems with addiction, women, it is not the same for women. Women are much more stigmatized. So, you know, um, generally, women suffer more of social consequences, cultural consequences, and systemic barriers when they seek to get help for any kind of addiction, especially alcoholism and drug addiction. I have seen this firsthand. Now, there are many, many reasons for that. One is if a man is drinking and he's drunk, he even fall along by the rum shop, get into a fracas or something like that. Society kind of expects, have come to expect that, look, when men drink, that is how they will behave. So that in the old days, there would be a little section, these little swinging doors like the Western pictures had, where men were drinking on the other side, and you will just hear them, but you won't see them. And children and women will be kind of restricted to the goods section, as we call it, in the shop. You know, you were not, it would be on, well, you were not expected to be on the rum shop side at all. So the shops were divided into two. Now we don't have that. We have shops that are just open, groceries that are just open. Anyone can go anywhere and buy anything. So that allows the society to become, gradually over time, desensitized to certain things and more accepting. Like, for instance, we have all these songs, for chutney singing competition coming up, where people are singing and glamorizing alcohol so that they're desensitizing the stigma associated with drinking and drug use. It is becoming more and more, well, that's the culture. As if we did not have a problem even from my early days. We always had a problem, a cultural problem where drinking is concerned, especially among the East Indian population in Trinidad and Tobago. So that while men eventually begrudgingly will agree that they have a problem with alcohol, which even for men is a big challenge. The hardest thing I have found is to get someone who has become dependent on alcohol or any of the other psychotropic drugs to admit that they have a problem with the drug. And the difficulty is because of the stigma associated with drinking and drug use. No one like to admit or to let their colleagues and siblings and the community know that they are unable to handle the drinking. So even for men, it is a great difficulty. It's described as a disease of denial, but this is several times more difficult for women to admit, because if a woman got drunk by the shop, that would be news in the entire community in a wink. Because sometimes I wonder, women could be very harsh against women. They are, I think, much more critical of women. While they look out for each other in some ways, but they could be harshly critical because they hold their sisters and their mothers and everybody, and the society holds them to a higher standard. That no, 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 men could do this, but women are not supposed to do that. And women, I find, especially when we're looking at the what is called the developed world, women our women in Trinidad and Tobago are looking at over the fence and say, but these women have the freedom. They can do what they want. They can have a drink if they choose to. The whole women's liberation movement has been to bring equity. So why, if a man could drink, why a woman can't drink? And our sisters will argue that. And while the argument sounds very plausible and just, the society, I don't think, is ready to accept that. You understand? And women need to accept, realize that no, the yardstick for men is different. That is just how it is right now. I don't know if it would change, and if it does, if it would be changed for the better. I would rather our sisters remain more discreet, much more modest, much more responsible, because I'll tell you something, at the end of the day, I have seen men drink their life out die, leave the family, never support them, but the woman has held it together. And today I want to salute our women, especially those women who have husbands who are alcoholics and drug addicts, who are, cutting belly and back, as we say in Trinidad, to make sure they feed their family and send their children to school and improve their life and all of that, and be there even up to the last. I've known women who even separated from their husband because of drinking and drug use and abuse, and still seeking help for the children's father. And when he agrees to go for help, they even go visit and give him the encouragement. Some of them reconcile after because they realize, well, look, okay, he has turned a new leaf, a new page. And but women do not have that facility because of the social stigma associated to drinking and drug use. They are less likely to come out and admit and accept help. Secondly, while they will stay and look after the family and the children, so the man could go to Cora or go to Rebirth House or anywhere else and get stay for a month, 2 months, 3 months, and she would hold the family together, because when he's not there, sometimes it is even better for her to manage, because when he's there, he's much more of a problem than he's help. So she's able to hold it together while he go and gets his life back in order. But very rare you would have a man who is willing to even allow his wife to go for treatment. Because it's okay for him to drink, but he don't want anybody to know he has a wife who's an alcoholic. So he's not even going to allow her to go. He will not encourage her to go. And even if she decides to go, there's nobody to look after the children, not even him. Some of these men don't even know how to cook, wash, sweep, or clean, or take care of kids. And we don't have the support services in this country where childcare services or any kind of service that could take this family now take care of the family, so that this woman, this sister, could go and get help. You understand? This is the reality. So that it is very, very different. Now, even the treatment facilities here, I have worked in some of them, and I have studied some of them, not only in Trinidad, but in the Caribbean and in North America as well. And a lot of them are not prepared to deal with the women issues. And because women have sometimes several other issues that would have predisposed them to drug use, alcohol use, anxiety, depression, verbal domestic violence, sometimes early childhood abuse, they would have happened, because it seems as though it's a jinx where the children of alcoholics, the daughters of alcoholics, they seem to somehow to choose men who are alcoholics themselves. I don't know. We need to do some research to find out why is that. Maybe they grew up with this codependency syndrome where they have seen, well, look, the father is an alcoholic, and there's something called the Electra complex, where men, the Oedipus complex as well, where young men tend to choose women who have certain qualities or remind them about some things about their mothers as well. And women, on the other hand, tend to look for men who, present the image of the father. So that if the father is an alcoholic, you'll find the daughter would easily accept it, because for her that is normal. That's how men are supposed to be. They're supposed to go out and drink and have a good time, and we are supposed to, because they saw their mother do that all her life and take the abuse and all of that, and they come to accept that is normal. So I know this is a very troublesome issue. Some people will agree, some will not. But of course, you can post your comments, you can text me, we can have a conversation about it. I am also willing, open-minded to learn more about this, especially to hear from our sisters. So you might want to post your comments. And so we'll take a break at this point and we'll come back in a few minutes and we could continue this discussion in part two of the program. So thank you for staying with us so far, those of you who have stayed. And remember, this is going to be posted in a little while on YouTube and Facebook, and it will be replayed again tonight on the same media house. So see you in a bit.